Hello friends, welcome to my channel Edutainment by Dr. Pratik C. Patel. Today we'll discuss about business strategy. In that we are going to discuss about behavioral implementation. We all understand once the strategy is chosen, next job is to implement it properly, and to implement it properly we require some modification in existing structure, existing staff, and so many other things. One of the major change which requires is at behavioral level. That is what we are going to discuss in this session, behavioral implementation. Before we talk about behavioral implementation, just have a look at what is strategy implementation, and then we discuss about behavioral implementation. When we say strategy, it's in simple terms, it says what action is to be taken. Strategy talks about what is to be done. Implementation prescribes who will do it, where it will be done, when it will be done, and how it will be done. And that is what we talk about implementation. In simple terms, if I put it, strategy implementation is the process through which the chosen strategy is put into action. Like for example, growth. How you achieve that growth? That is implementation of the strategy. Very specifically, we are going to discuss about behavioral implementation. It talks about those part or those changes which we are required to make to implement the strategy. Behavioral aspect of the implementation of the strategy. It deals with those aspects of the strategy implementation that have impact on the behavior of people in the organization. That is why it is known as behavioral implementation. Major thing which involves is leadership, organization culture, value and ethics, social responsibility, corporate governance, and organizational politics. That is what we are going to discuss in behavioral implementation. Let's start with leadership, because we all know any organization, any team, whatever they achieve or whatever they don't achieve, it is because of their leader. Leaders are someone who bring the changes. Leaders are someone who brings success or failure also. Let's talk about leadership in detail. Leadership is basically the ability to persuade others to seek defined objectives willingly and enthusiastically. It's not about forcing someone. It is about getting willing acceptance. Like Mahatma Gandhi ji didn't force anyone to join him. People willingly joined because they realized what he was saying was right. What he was saying was for the betterment of the nation. And that is why they say great leaders don't tell you what to do. They show how to do it, taking initiatives. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. And that is what we say. Leader is not somebody who forces you to do something. It is someone who persuade you, convince you. And that is why there is a difference between leader and a boss. And a manager can get intended work accomplished by its subordinates in two ways. One, by exercising authority vested in him. You have authority, you can use your power and get work done from your subordinate. Other ways, by winning support of his subordinates. That is where the leadership skill comes. And that is why we say there is a difference between manager and leader. Yes, a manager can become a good leader when he get his work done from his subordinate by getting their support. And that is possible when you convince them whatever they are doing, it is for their betterment and for organization betterment. And that comes when you are a leader, not a manager, a supervisor, or a boss. A good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and little less than his share of the credit. That is where a point of difference comes. If you're a good leader, you allow others to take credit. If something goes wrong, you take the blame. Talking about strategic leadership, it is the process of transforming an organization with the help of its people so as to put it in a unique position. As we discussed, and we started with that point only, that leader is the person who determines success or failure of an organization or a team or a nation. How? Obviously, he cannot do anything alone, but he definitely can show path to others. He can definitely motivate others, guide others, so as to put the organization in a unique position with the help of its people. Nobody can do anything alone. There are people who supports you. And the job of leader is to get that support willingly. And that is what we say strategic leadership is a process by which you transform your organization, make your organization unique with the help of your people. Strategic leadership inspires and motivates people to work together with a common vision and purpose. As Gandhiji created a common vision, purpose for all people of the nation, that is freedom for the nation. They all fought for it. Every organization, you must have a leader who can create that vision among their subordinates. Like for 2011 World Cup, Gary Custon could create that vision among all other players in the team that we can win the 2011 Cricket World Cup for the cricketing god Sachin Tendulkar. And that is how we ultimately won it because they all fought for that common vision, though they all were having some individual differences. But then they all liked Sachin Tendulkar and towards that they worked. What is the role of leadership in strategic implementation? First, a leader is the architecture of the strategy because he designed it, he formulated the strategy. But a good strategy is of no use unless it is implemented properly. The second role of leader is as an implementer of the strategy. Many times you see that even the base strategy fail because you fail to execute it properly. Like we have seen how otherwise a good strategy, that is GST, but it is not working well because of there is an execution or implementation problem. So many resolution came after the law was implemented. Problem was that GST as a law was good. It has to be done. It was required to be done. But then the government did it too hurriedly. They could have done it with some patience. Similar situation is happening with bullet train project also. Probably country needs it, but then the way it is happening, it is creating problem. Probably you have not convinced your people properly. And that is what the role of a leader. First you design, architect of the strategy, then implementer of the strategy. Many a time you design a strategy very good, but then execution you fail it. Yeah. There's some other role also of a leader in an organization. One is introducing the change, integrating conflict interests, developing motivational system, setting organization climate, and leadership development. Let's discuss each one of them in detail. First and foremost, role of a leader is to introduce the change. You understand, change is the only permanent thing. As Newton also said, bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. Bodies at rest tend to stay at rest. Yeah. As Charles Darwin also says, survival of the fittest. If you are fit enough, then only you will survive. Who are fit enough? Those who change with the external changes. So organization also, if they want to survive, they have to change. And the leader is one who brings this change. Now, how you bring this change, that will determine whether you are a good leader or a poor leader. If you are a good leader, you will bring the change in a smooth manner. No chaos, no oppose, or minimum resistance from your employee. Otherwise, if you try to force upon, then people might oppose, resist also. From this point of view, a leader may adopt different ways to bring the change. Change should be brought after creating agreeable environment for that by taking people into confidence. If you wish that change happens in a smooth manner, then you first develop environment, conducive environment for change. Explain why this change is necessary for organization, why this is necessary for them also. Second, there should be as much concern for people as for this project. That means you must convince people that by bringing this change, nobody is going to lose the job. We need to bring this change, but we also appreciate that employees are also equally important. So that is where a role of a leader comes. How he is able to bring this change, or whether he would be able to bring this change or not. That is where leadership's quality comes into picture. Whether it is a country's leader, company's leader, or team's leader. Another is role of a leader is integrating conflicting interests. Whenever there are more than two people, conflict is likely to happen. Organization also not free from these things. Every organization consists of many interest group, conflicting group, conflict between line and staff, superior and subordinates, conflict between two departments are very common, very obvious. Problem is that if it is not managed, this might harm overall effectiveness of the strategy, overall effectiveness of the organization. And that is where the role of leader comes. A leader is one who take everyone together. It's not possible that you will nullify the conflict completely. Job of a leader is not to take side of anyone, but to see that they all are integrated. Job of leader is to take side of the organization and explain that how each group is important for organization growth. If you take side of one group, then problem will actually increase. And that is where leaders' role is. They need to take everyone together, because there might be some genuine issues also, problems also. Your job is to see that you can take every interest group together so that everyone grows together. Third role of a leader is to develop a motivation system. Any organization, whatever they achieve, it is because of their people, employee. Without it, it is not possible. So if you want to achieve some success, you ensure that your employee have enough motivation. And leader's role is to have a good motivation system in the organization so that everyone gives their 100%. Because without employees' commitment, no organization can grow, no organization can succeed. Job of a leader is to see what are the needs of employee people in the organization, have proper incentive, proper motivation system in the organization so that their performance can be rewarded, so that they can be motivated, so that they work towards organization goals and objectives. And for that, most important is to having proper climate. That is fourth role of a leader, setting organizational climate. Organizational climate is a set of characteristics that describe an organization and differentiate it from other. How you are different from other? It is because you have some characteristics which other organizations do not have, or do not have up to that extent. These characteristics are relatively enduring, long-lasting. It is not something which is short-term. Some long-lasting characteristics. Organization whose strategy is implemented with matching organization climate are more effective than those who are not. Your job is as a leader is to see that you choose those strategy which goes well with the organizational climate. Then success is guaranteed. Otherwise, not. Some features of a supportive climate are a sound organizational climate or supportive organizational climate is one where there is absence of political maneuvering. No politics for gaining organizational positions. Rather, there is penalties for unfair competition and petty conspiracy. Second, supportive climate is one where there is a match between reward and performance. Performance is rewarded, not relationship, not friendship. If it is the case, then this is a poor climate for working. High standards of excellence in everything what you do. That is supportive climate. Supportive climate is one where participation is encouraged. Group decisions are encouraged. Supportive climate is one where innovation is encouraged. Freedoms are given. And most important, supportive climate is where there is a high standards of moral integrity, like Infosys, like Wipro, like Tata's. for both internal matters also and external matters also. Last, most important role of any leader is leadership development. In HR context, many a time we say succession planning. A good leader is one who do not create followers. A good leader is one who create leaders, like how MS Dhoni nurtured Virat Kohli first. And then when he feel that now he is good enough to lead the team India, he given of that leadership. So good leader is one who develop leaders, not followers. Realizing this, that leadership development is important, many companies have started in-house facilities for developing leaders. Every company have realized that leaders are important, transformational leaders are important, and that's why they have created their own in-house facilities so as to develop leaders, where the emphasis is on developing transformational leaders. Transformational leaders are those who can take care of changes which are occurring at a much faster pace than before. You understand, things are changing at a very rapid rate. A good leader is one who can accommodate these changes. That is a transformational leader who brings transformation. It involves developing those qualities and attitude in managers which help them to look into the future and bring necessary change on proactive basis, not on reactive basis. Don't do something once damage has already done. It's damage control. No, a good leader is one who forecasts, who predict, and do take action on proactive basis, not reactive basis. That is what we say transformational leaders. So we discuss about few roles of leader. Effectiveness of leadership depends upon type of leadership style also. If you see some countries, you might see a different style of leader. There are some complete autocratic, then there are some complete free range style of leaders, complete democratic. Job is to see that in organization also you have a good leader, and good or bad leader is largely based upon their leadership style. It is a pattern of behavior which a leader adopts in influencing behavior of his followers. Whether you every time show your powers to your subordinates, that can also be a style of leader, or every time you give your followers a choice whether to do, where, how to do, and all the things. So these are two extreme. So leadership style is a pattern of a leader, how they influence their subordinates. There are various dimensions by which leadership style can be explained. Use of power to influence others, employees, your subordinates, or emphasis on reward or punishment to influence your subordinates or employee. How you use all these traits, in which combination you use, that determines your style of leadership. Let me tell you, there is no perfect style of leadership, autocratic or democratic. It is actually situational. You should have that much of sense which comes out of experience, that in a particular situation, whether I need to be autocratic, whether I need to be democratic, or whether I need to be in between autocratic and democratic, or a particular combination of autocratic and democratic, that much sense you must be having, and that is what a good leader is. So it is actually a situational style of leadership. In a particular situation, you might be required to become complete autocratic. In such a particular situation, you might require to become complete democratic, free range style of leadership. But you have that much of understanding that you use a proper style of leadership in a particular situation. That makes a great leader. The leader should match his style according to the requirement of the strategy, a particular strategy, what style of leadership you require, that you must have understanding. Then you can do it properly. Moving towards another aspect in behavioral implementation, that is organization culture. The way every country have their culture, every organization do have their own culture. And you understand culture means what? Some total of knowledge, belief, custom, trends, and all that things putting together. Same way, every organization also has some culture. which make it easy or difficult to do certain things. Culture is the framework within which the behavior of an organization member take place. It is a set of assumptions, beliefs, values, norms that are shared by an organization members. Like for example, whenever I say Reliance, Tata's, Infosys, Wipros, ITC, ONGC, certain things comes to your mind about assumption, belief, values, and all the things. If you put in a particular continuum, a scale, there are 7 characteristics which define culture. As I said, it is a scale where you stand on each of these characteristics that will determine culture of your organization. What are these 7 characteristics? Innovation and risk taking, whether high or low or where exactly. It's not possible that everything is high or low. Extreme nahi. Your organization might exist on a particular scale where these 7 characteristics are found. One extreme is high, another extreme is low. Where exactly your organization exists? Attention to detail, how much attention you give to detailing. Outcome orientation hai, kitna hai. People orientation, team orientation, aggressiveness, stability. All these 7 characteristics on the scale of high to low, and where you are found on these characteristics on this scale of high to low will tell you what is your organization culture, which might be highly innovative, but which pays low attention to detail, which is outcome orientation, which believes in team orientation, and so on. And thus, every organization have a unique culture. Important is that your culture have an impact upon your activity as an individual also. What we do, how we behave, it is because of largely because of our culture. Like what we eat as an Indian, what US people eat, culture has an important role to play. Similarly, what an organization do and what organization don't do, it is because of their culture up to a large extent. For example, major impact of a culture is observed in what type of objective you set. For example, profit maximization is your objective or customer satisfaction is your objective. It depends upon your culture. Company like Reliance, their more focus is on profit maximization always. Second, work ethic. How ethical you are or whether you compromise on ethic, that depends upon your culture. Like for example, Tata's, Infosys are known for high ethical standards. How every year 70, 80 employees from Infosys are terminated just because they have failed to do ethical work. And that is how they believe in, what they believe in. Your culture affect motivational pattern also. If organization culture is achievement oriented, then more motivation would be there to work hard. If organization culture is not achievement oriented, then there is a difficult thing. So culture do have an impact upon what organization do, how they do, what motivates them, what objectives they set. Important is that culture and strategy must be properly matched. There are few options available to you. One, you ignore organization culture by strategy, formulation and implementation, which is very dangerous. No way success will come if you ignore the culture while formulation of strategy. To adapt strategy implementation to suit the organization culture, you adjust your strategy keeping in mind the organization culture, which is a common practice, or to change the organization culture to suit the strategy implementation, which is again a difficult job. And that is why even after acquiring Jaguar and Land Rover, Tata didn't merge with their company. Second, Tata didn't appointed the head of Jaguar and Land Rover from India because that would create some cultural problems. Even today, it is managed from headquarters in UK, where large majority of employees are from UK only, because otherwise it will be a cultural cultural clash. So there is a need to match between culture and strategy which you choose. There are some barriers also, cultural barriers while implementing the strategy. One very common is low performing culture. For years you have not done anything, and that's why it is affecting your performance. Low performing culture is characterized by maintaining status quo, rigid organizational process, rules, and centralized decision making power. This type of culture is largely because for years you have been in the status quo. For years you have worked under a protective environment. Like so many companies in India struggle or get closed down after 1991 liberalization because for years nothing has changed in Indian market. Before 91, no major change, no competition. The moment market was open, these all companies started getting closed down. If not immediately, phase by phase, because for years they were working in the same stable, protective environment. That is what we say low performing culture, which you largely observe in government jobs. And that is why most of the government unit are loss making because job security is there. That's why nobody is working. Low performing culture. But whenever there is a change, this organization, these people find themselves in a dilemma because for years they have not done anything new. So that is what exactly happens when a public sector company is privatized, employee struggles, they find it in a dilemma, and many starts leaving VRS and everything. That is because of low performing culture. It creates a barrier. Cultural diversity, as we just discussed, when Tata acquired Jaguar and Land Rover, there was a probability that if these two companies get merged, which was otherwise also not a possibility, because both Tata Motors and Jaguar and Land Rover have completely different target audience. But the bigger issue is that if company gets merged, employee from two different countries find it difficult to work because they come from different culture. And that also is a problem while implementing the strategy. Generally, this happens while merger, acquisition, or takeover, joint venture, Hero Honda struggled, got separated, strategic alliance. So in this situation, two companies from two different cultures are likely to come together, which ultimately results into some cultural complexity or problems. And as a result, some issue might arise. And that is where a leader comes. This problem also emerges when a company from India go to US, UK, or other countries. Same way, US company comes to India, they also get some cultural shock. And that is why it is important to understand. Developing a sound culture. How you can develop a sound culture? Preserve core ideology. Like Tata didn't disturb Jaguar and Land Rover's core ideology. It allowed to exist, preserved it. And that's why they kept the top management people from UK only. Even most of the employees are from UK only. Encourage experimentation and accept mistake. Then you can develop a sound culture. Grow managers internally from promotion. Many times what mistake we do is that when there comes to do the promotion and higher job position to be filled up, you bring somebody from outside. This will never help you. Like many a time, we brought the coach of the team from outside India, like Greg Chappell. He spoiled Indian cricket in just 2 years' time. Disastrous Cricket World Cup 2007. Because that person couldn't understand Indian culture. Same happen in an organization also, same happen in politics also. People who work for a constituency or the state and overnight the political party decides and brings somebody from outside as the chief minister, which happened in Delhi when BJP brought Kiran Bedi as the chief minister candidate for BJP in Delhi. Otherwise a good lady, but then she was an outsider. That's why even BJP's workers didn't find that much of commitment while working for the party because they felt that the person who is going to become a chief minister is an outsider. Why don't you have a person who is from Delhi or who is from the organization who occupy the highest position in your organization? So that is a sign of a sound culture. Another important behavioral aspect is values, ideology, ethics. Every organization is unique because they have their own values, ideology, ethics. Values are conviction and a framework of a philosophy and individual based upon which he judges good or bad. Value system, integrity, what we say. Ideology is an organized collection of ideas, philosophy. Ethics may be thought of in terms of mass moral principle or set of values about what ought to be. Ethics are moral principle which tells you what is right and wrong. Giving bribes to the traffic police, is it right or wrong? That is your moral principle. Similarly, for every situation, we can have something which tells us right or wrong. That is our moral principle. Wearing helmet, wearing seat belt, driving fast, moral principles. Thing is that values, ideology, ethics, everything has an impact upon our organization activity, directly or indirectly. For example, the way member perceive situation and problem they face, it depends upon that particular member's value, ideology, and ethics. It is said that युधिष्ठिर को सारे युधिष्ठिर ही लगते हैं, दुर्योधन को सारे दुर्योधन ही लगते हैं. It is because we see others the way we are. If we are honest, we feel everyone else is honest. If we are dishonest, we start doubting everyone else. That is what we say, value, ideology, and ethics. It affects the way we see others, the way we make and find out solution to problem. As I just said, traffic police have stopped you. Now, whether you give 100 rupee bribe or you pay 500 rupee and take challan, that is our value system. So, how we find out solution of the problem, that is our value system, ideology or ethics. The perception of an individual and organization success. What is success for you? That is your value system. By hook or crook, profit should come. Is this how you see your success? That is because of value system. So many people are doing that way. Value system set the limit to determine what is right and wrong. The extent to which organization member accept and resist to external pressures. Whenever there is an external pressures, you give up. That is your value system. Or you fight, you resist. You are a whistleblower. Value system, ideology, ethics. Social responsibility. One of the most talked about topic. We are part of the society. We must take responsibility and we must do something for the society. While strategy implementation also, you can think about these things. One simple solution is that you overlook social responsibility, but it can be dangerous in long run. Second, organization may operationalize social responsibility while strategy implementation. Whenever you implement a strategy, you consider social responsibility also, because it is essential for long-term survival. Another topic related, but it is actually different, that is corporate governance. It is a newly developed system for managing a company in the best interest of all its stakeholders. All stakeholders and their interests can be maintained when you run an organization in a fair manner with transparency and with accountability. How every politicians are asked by Supreme Court that you must declare your personal wealth and everything, but none of them are doing. They hide. If they declare in parts only. Yeah. Again, it is not something which is legal, but it is expected that you should do. Code of corporate governance. How you can have proper corporate governance? You composition of the board of directors. If you actually believe in corporate governance, then your board of directors might not be from your family only or from the person you know. You can have an outsiders, the third party, as your board of directors, so that they can keep track of what you are doing, whether you are doing fairly, transparently, and properly. Disclosure of all the information, as I just said, if all the political party, like Aam Aadmi Party, when they first fought the election, they said that we'll maintain everything transparently. They started putting everything on their website, who have given how much of money to Aam Aadmi Party. Everything was displayed on their website, which none of the political party were doing, and that is why they are winning the election, because people have developed trust in Aam Aadmi Party. Management practice means you actually practice what you say, fairness, transparency, and accountability. Another is organizational politics. As I said, whenever there are two or more people, politics are likely to happen. Thing is to that, see that do not harm the organization. it can be defined as more of the following things. Organization politics means acquisition of power, protection of one's own domain. Yeah, I am working in an organization, but I'm more bothered about myself. That is not right. Politics, it is. Building of support through group formation. You have created a group majority and that you take advantage of. Clear. You answer that what you say happens in the organization because you have number, because you have group of people. Politics. Strategic use of politics and power. No organization is free from politics. Problem is that this politics harm the organization. The only question is, what is the degree of politics in an organization? What are the consequences? If they are harming the organization, it is very bad things. Strategists may have two approaches for utilizing politics and power structure. First, approach is in regard to understanding and managing the politics. You understand the politics and you manage it. Second approach is elimination of dysfunctional consequences of politics. Bad politics, avoid it, remove it. Something which is good for the organization, then you can allow it. Hope you have understood behavioral implementation. Stay tuned for many more videos, and for that you can subscribe my channel Edutainment by Dr. Pratik C. Patel. Thank you very much for watching.